Good morning. We'll start getting ready for the agenda. Can everyone please make sure that their devices are set to mute? Please, thank you. First item on the agenda is a sign application SG 2019-010. When you hear support or opposition, come forward, please.
014 or 010?
It's 907 Frederick Street.
Sorry, I thought I was first.
You can have a seat over here, please.
Right here?
Good morning. Your name?
Good morning, it's Sandeep Singh.
Okay, Sandeep, have you had an opportunity to review staff's report? Have you had an opportunity to review the staff report?
Yeah.
They're recommending approval with conditions. I just want to bring it to your attention to the region, which really isn't tied to this application, I don't believe, but the region has made a comment that they're requiring an encroachment agreement for the ground sign that's out front of the property as well. It's actually located onto their property, not the property owners. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, does that need to be made a condition of the agreement, the encroachment, or is that just a note?
I don't think that, you're not the property owner, are you?
No.
No,
I'm
he's not,
renting it.
so it can't really be tied to it, I don't think. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, through you, I've read the report, and I would move that this be approved with the two conditions that are in the staff report.
Okay, second. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Please note that this committee does not have final approval. Council does.
Yes.
We make recommendation to council for signs and fences. Council's meeting August 26th, so it would be a good idea if you attend that council meeting.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the regular business. Sign application SG 2019-14. It's 150 Pioneer Drive. Support or opposition, come forward, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Your name?
Carol Colvin.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review staff report?
I have.
Okay, they're recommending approval with 4 conditions. We weren't really supplied with a proper site plan on this application, and there was a comment from traffic that they want to ensure that it does not encroach into the 4.57 meter driveway visibility triangle. I think it might be prudent to include that as a further condition since we don't have a proper site plan. So we'll add a condition number 5 that would specify that as well. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Bob?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We sometimes have done this in the past where a drawing of the sign has been supplied with the application. I'd like to add a 6th condition that says that the sign will be as generally depicted in the drawing supplied with the report.
Staff?
Staff has no objection to that. I also wanted to ask you, Mr. Chair, for clarification about the site drawing. You're just wanting to have the site drawing confirm the location of the sign and that it is outside of the DVT?
Yes.
Correct. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so that's 6th condition. Anyone have anything further to add? Motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this be approved as amended with this, excuse me, with the 6 conditions.
Second? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, council have final approval on this in their meeting August 26th. Okay, thank you. Next application is SG 2019-15. Anyone here in support or opposition? Good morning. Your name?
Good morning. My name is Gilda Collins. I'm the applicant.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review staff report?
I have.
They're recommending approval with conditions. It's actually a fairly straightforward application. Anyone have any questions or comments? Or a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move that the application be approved.
Second?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have one quick question to the applicant. This is a rather unique development that you're going forward with, and not that it really matters for the application, but will the water tower be functional or just decorative?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm actually going to defer to the representative from Cadillac Fairview.
Good morning, Glenn Walters, Cadillac Fairview. No, the water tower will not be functional. It's more of a fixture.
Just for architectural significance? Yeah. Okay, I got it. Was there a motion on the floor, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, it'll go to council for final approval August 26th, so it'd be a good idea to attend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next application's A 2019-59. That's 364 Heritage Drive. Support or opposition, come forward, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name?
Aaron Hybens.
And Janet Maddock.
Yes. Have you had an opportunity to review staff report?
Yes, we have.
Okay, they're recommending approval without conditions. It's a fairly straightforward application. Does anyone have any questions or comments or a motion?
Through you, Mr. Chair, for the last little while we've been adding a condition that the applicant applies for a building permit. I know it's covered off under the zoning anyway, but just as a matter of consistency, I'd like to add one condition there.
All right. Anyone else? Motion?
I move that the application be approved as submitted with the small additional condition of building permit.
Okay, second. Jennifer, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application is A 2019-60. It's 72 Archer Place. Support or opposition, come forward, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Pierre Chauvin with MHBC Planning in support of the recommendation. If I may just have a quick question or request with respect to the one condition and requirement for occupancy certificates by December 31st. We're just kindly request that that be deferred to a year from now, just to allow us some time to complete the renovations.
Okay, staff has indicated they don't have a problem with that, so that's fine, so we'll amend that condition to that date. I'd like to actually add a further condition to this, and that is also that they apply for a building permit for the legalization of the triplex, which was a comment that came from building department. I don't think there should be a problem with that. Okay. So amended condition, added condition. Anyone have any questions or comments? Up.
Mr. Chair, through you to staff, I'm a little confused on a few things. This is an existing duplex that is going to be changed into a triplex, and the zoning does not permit a triplex in this area. Then my question would be, shouldn't this be a zone change as opposed to a minor variance?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have added other permitted uses through variance, which one can add through the variance. Just a little bit of history on the site, too, which I believe was touched on in the report, but my understanding is that the previous owner of this property had used this building for a triplex for many, many, many years. Then when the property was going to be sold, discovered that it was never legalized. They removed the triplex use and sold it as a duplex, and the new owner would like to reinstate the triplex use legally and legalize that use. So, to answer your question, I hope that answers it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thanks to staff for answering my question. It's very clear now. I move that this be approved with, is it just the one condition plus the building permit as amended?
All right, second. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Pierre.
Thank you.
Next application is A2019-61. It's 15 Peter Street. Anyone support or opposition, come forward, please.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Matthew Rozeka. I'm a planner with GSP Group, here today on behalf of the applicant in support.
Have you had an opportunity to review staff's report, Matt?
I have.
Okay, they're recommending approval with conditions. Do you have any questions, comments? They're all straightforward. Anyone have any questions, comments? Motion?
I make a motion that the application be approved as submitted with the conditions that are noted
Right.
on it.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next application is A2019-62. That's 920 Keewatin Place. Does anyone support opposition? Okay. Okay, I think the way that we'll do this, I'm going to ask staff a question, and then we'll turn this over to, I would assume that you're all in objection to this application. And we'll turn it over, hear from the objectors first, and then hear from the applicant, which will give the applicant an opportunity to address staff's comments and the objectors' comments before we take it any further. So, first off, to the applicant, you've received a copy of the staff report?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and they're recommending approval and refusal. All right, so I would like to just forward a question to staff at this moment. I'd like to get a definition within the bylaw of what a home business is.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the city's bylaw defines a home business as a vocational use conducted on a lot used for residential purposes, which is secondary to the use of the dwelling unit as a primary residence.
Okay. Then we'll hear from the opposition. Your name?
Good morning. My name is Daryl Chakeen, and this is my wife, Elaine Chakeen. We live next door to the applicants at 916 Keewatin Place.
Okay.
Good morning. In our strong opposition to the variances. We are next door neighbors to the applicants and stand to be greatly affected by the variances. Today, I'm not going to repeat ourselves by going through all of our arguments. I hope that you've had the time to review them, and I invite whatever questions you may have. I will only touch upon a few things. You will gather from my submission and the submissions of several other neighbors that we have been exasperated by the persistent operation of a construction company in contraventions related to parking, zoning, business licensing, and building permits. You have seen in my submission 2 known instances of trucks and trailers associated to the applicants driving over the landscape circle where children play and neighbors meet and greet one another. The photos tell 1,000 words about how the applicants have treated the neighborhood and their neighbors over the years. I have read the staff report of the Department of Planning and its recommendations. We find that the recommendations are reasonable, have merit, and will help in preventing recurrence of problems, or at least giving enforcement officials a means to investigate complaints. That said, I believe the city is being overly generous in some respects. The city would have been justified in revoking the application the minute it learned that for a period of 6 days between June 28th and July 4th, the notification sign was concealed behind the front staircase and a large bush. The notification sign was not visible from the south of the street and certain angles from the front of the street. Why would the sign not have been displayed in a prominent place in the front of the yard as the application requires? In the signing block, the application reads, "I further acknowledge that a city-issued notification sign must be posted at the front of the subject property in a location that is visible from the street." On July 4th, after I spoke to the planning department about the placement of the sign, an employee very promptly came to the residence to verify the situation and take a photograph. We presume the applicants were thereafter cautioned because on that evening the sign was moved to the front of the yard as it should have been 6 days earlier. Is this the way it's going to continue to be once the variances are granted? A game of cat and mouse, where it will be the responsibility of residents to call in over and over again about infractions. Respectfully, it is not the job of neighbors to continuously police a situation when the city and the Committee of Adjustment can, based on past and current conduct, simply deny the variances or revoke the application due to non-compliance to its terms and conditions. I also believe the city is being overly generous in accepting the request to have 2 employees in light of the history and the number of complaints. Furthermore, an important question on the application remains unanswered. The application asks, in your opinion, what are the reasons you are not able to comply with the zoning bylaw? As far as I can tell, there is no rationale provided in response to this question. In fact, the opposite is stated, that the intent is to have employees work from home. I quote, "I am also focusing on using our abilities to work with these people from their homes on computer without them having to visit me for help. This is really our main focus, to work from their homes, not here." If the focus is to have employees work from home, why are 2 employees and 2 parking spots necessary when 1 would suffice? Based on past and current conduct and stated needs, I believe that it would be reasonable to authorize a variance from 1 employee and parking from 1 employee instead of 2. If, for a 12-month period, there are no further major complaints, then 2 employees and parking spots for them could be approved. This 12-month period would also allow the applicants to reassess their own needs to see if they really need 2 employees when their focus is to have employees work from home. We are in agreement with the balance of recommendations in the staff report. I'll speak briefly about only 2 of these. Refusal of variance number 4, side yard for a proposed driveway. In addition to the rationale in the staff report, there's also the practical consideration of snow storage. Currently, because a side yard is used as a driveway illegally, there's nowhere to store snow other than to blow it across the street and onto the circle. This practice occurs predictably after every snowfall and creates traffic and visibility hazards, potentially in contravention of the Ontario Highway Traffic Act and municipal bylaws. Moreover, this practice, if it continues, pursuant to variance number 4, may put the city in legal liability for any pedestrian or vehicular accidents that may result. By retaining their side yard and using it as a side yard and not a driveway, a place is retained to store snow. No clients, patrons are to be entering the premises. This is a reasonable request given a lack of availability of on-street parking for the rest of the neighbors. I have shown in my written submission examples of when vehicles associated to the applicants and their business took up most of the parking spots on Keewatin Place and nearby places on Keewatin Avenue. This recommendation will ensure that the applicants do not monopolize municipal resources in terms of on-street parking. We thank the City of Kitchener, its various departments, for having taken seriously our complaints over the past several months and indeed over the years. We can't help but think that in this staff report, you are sending the applicants a rather strong message and giving them little wiggle room to contravene municipal bylaws. We hope that the applicants get the message. In closing, we are in agreement with all of the reasonable and justified recommendations of the staff report. We do, however, put forth that the request for 2 employees be conditional to the applicants legally having 1 employee for a 12-month period without any major contraventions. We believe this would be a reasonable measure of due diligence and prudence in light of the applicant's own stated needs and current and past conduct. The vast majority of residents on Keewatin Place are law-abiding and respectful of one another. We do not commit zoning and parking infractions. We obtain building permits and building licenses when required. We do not drive recklessly over landscape mediums. We do not blow our snow onto the street. We do not play cat and mouse games with the municipality. We have proper occupancy certificates if we have employees. Accordingly, we reasonably expect that the City of Kitchener help us to protect our quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ian Harrower. I'm 921 Keewatin Place, the Southside neighbor. My wife and I support the recommendations in the staff report. Our primary concerns were around the use of the walkway as a driveway on the south side and not having sufficient space there. We have moderate concerns that the conditions that are applied on how they will be enforced as far as parking is concerned, because it's a regular occurrence right now that there are cars parked on the walkway, and like having to call bylaw every time, and just in general the following of the conditions is our primary concern right now.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll turn it over to the applicant just to explain his application, if you have any questions in regards to the conditions, and make comments, I guess, in that regard. So, your name?
Good morning. I don't know if I use this one here.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. I'd like to address the Ian's situation for the parking on a so-called walkway at the side of the house. And as you can see from the first photo, that my truck is backed up onto the driveway, and which could be a foot or 6 inches over what may be called a walkway, but it is part of a driveway. Under the conditions that have been addressed for the city, they have required me to not use that area at the side of the house in the back of the home, which we are fully in agreement with, and we have no issues with that whatsoever. As far as parking from the front of the house to the very back of the house where the garage is, because there was some concerns about a distance of less than 3 meters. So in that issue that he has, we are not objecting to that whatsoever. We are agreeing to that. The other issue from the gentleman previous, I'd like to make it very clear to begin with. We are in a legal lawsuit with the complainant, And I really don't feel that the committee should have to address each and every one of these complaints simply because the fact is that most of them are unfounded. They are fabricated and definitely unfounded, and that will come out in a civil matter in a court of law, which is the first session for the trial is tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow. So we'll be addressing that. As for the staff report that I have read in full, their recommendations, both my wife and I have absolutely no concerns with that. I have just recently, unfortunately, had a hate crime on our property on different occasions, so this is not a minor variance issue. The minor variance issue that is at hand today, I am fully aware of all of these issues, and I am quite prepared to proceed with all of the recommendations that the committee is asking for. And I feel it only be fair that because of the fact that all of these photos that you see from the complainants were from the construction of his backyard, and which I am being blamed for many, many things, especially, for example, a car parked on the side of the road that I'm parked illegally. No, my wife was in the car and I was speaking to her as an example. And such complaints as feces on their property we're getting blamed for. So I'm very emotional on this, but I would just like to read just a small thing that I had prepared for you, if I may. I have recently applied for a minor variance and have read the city staff report for the minor variance. After reading the complete staff report, I have absolutely, and Margaret, have no objections to the staff members' recommendations as they have provided on July the 9th for our property. I feel that it is well detailed and to the point of our objectives. Margaret and I are happy to agree to all the terms and conditions and are ready to move ahead. The purpose of my request is for a minor change to our property is so that we may continue our small home-based business to provide opportunities for many young and retrainees for better lives in their attaining new opportunities in their search and to create new jobs and a better way of life for them and their families. I've had the pleasure of helping others attain these goals and find the job that they work very hard for. They have been successful. If you have never had the experience of the opportunity to get your first job, it's extremely hard to fit into another, let alone have any employer hire you without any experience whatsoever. You need a chance. I have been working with several government grants, candidates with new opportunities with great organizations such as Conestoga College, Lutherwood, Northern Lights, YWCA, Anabishkabeg, Aboriginal Outreach, Employment and Training Incorporated, and much more, and some of which these people are sitting here before you. Currently and in the past, I have partnered with these organizations to provide many employment and training opportunities for co-op students and career-changing adults. Some of these students are here in the room with us today, and this co-op and training opportunity includes mechanical, building and construction, CAD drafting and estimating, engineering, project managing, and not to mention the administrative and legal financial for these students. As you will see from some of the samples that I have provided to you, you can clearly see several soft services for construction industry, and I can now fulfill one of my dreams to provide these services with knowledge and integrity. I have been self-employed all my life, and I love my job. We have a ton of knowledge to share, and having this office in our home will help many people to build a promising future. With the continued support that I have had, the experience with the Waterloo region will in future and continue to allow our thousands of home-based businesses to thrive and make a difference to help those who need to help and succeed in life to support themselves and their family. This will make this all a very worthwhile cause, while in a positive way. And in closing, I'd just like to make a point that this minor variances is what I'm after. I have a beautiful home, and I have no intentions of parking anything, any construction, which I have not for the last year. And the last job that I worked on was my 2 neighbors' houses. So any of those photos, and that is fictitious. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, Bob?
Mr. Chair, through you to staff, you brought forward the definition of a home business. Are there not more regulations or conditions to, other than what has just been provided, such as number of employees and requirements for parking? And that's my first question.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, there are regulations specific to home businesses that are operated out of a single detached dwelling, such as the one that is subject to this application. One such regulation is that the home business shall be conducted by the person or persons that reside in the business or in the dwelling unit, so that would be the applicants, and it may include 1 non-resident employee. So 1 is already permitted. 1 employee is permitted. The applicant is seeking permission to have a second employee at any one time, because from what I understand from the nature of their business, and I think you can ask the applicant specifically, but this is based on the information that was provided to city staff, is that he has students or other trainees, so they come and go, and they're not necessarily always the same person.
Correct.
But staff felt it very important that we regulate that due to the nature of the complaints that were received in the area with people coming and going, that we regulated that no more than 2 should ever be in attendance as an employee. So that was the reasoning or the rationale for that condition. The other is that the home business be conducted wholly within an enclosed building. So that would speak to things like no outside storage of anything else, vehicles or otherwise, any other materials, construction materials, whatever. That was some of the things that were mentioned by the residents over time through multiple complaints to the city. So that would have to mean that this office building, which is an office building, you would think that that would be something that could be conducted within a building. So that was the rationale for that. And it's also that the home business permitted for each dwelling unit is a home business that is conducted so as not to attract customers or additional employees directly to the lot containing the home business. So that's what we're trying to do is restrict the number of visitors. This is a cul-de-sac. It's a residential area. It doesn't have a lot of on-street parking because of, well, the geometry of the cul-de-sac doesn't permit a lot of on-street parking. And, you know, the comment that was made by Mr. Chechen, snow storage in the winter, that would even make it more challenging to have on-street parking. In addition, there's no parking permitted around the circle. I visited the site myself just to get a better handle on, what is going on there. Just unannounced, I drove by last Friday. And I noted that the circle, you are not permitted to park anything along the circle. So again, parking would be challenging if we were to permit something that would draw a lot of customers. So that would be in keeping with what the original intent was. And that it's not be permitted in a dwelling containing lodging units. No outside storage is permitted, no storage or display of goods visible from the streets. An area not exceeding 25% of the gross floor area of the dwelling can be used for the home business, so it's based on the size of the dwelling. We would have to regulate that. The building containing the home business shall comply with all other regulations. Off-street parking, yeah, so there's a number, it goes up to letter R, or, excuse me, even longer than that. So I don't know that I'll go through all of them, but those are just some of the major things. Okay.
Bob?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. That really clears up what my understanding of the zoning or the home business regulations were. I find it interesting that, Mr. Chair, and this is maybe just a comment to you or colleagues around the table, both sides are agreeing with the staff report. So an additional comment would be I'm a big supporter of home business. People who know me know that. But at some point, a home business grows up and grows outside of its boundaries. As a suggestion, as you move forward, you might seriously think, if your business does grow, that you might need some properly zoned commercial space. That's just a suggestion. I'm not making that a condition. So based upon what both sides have said, Mr. Chair, it's straightforward. Everybody agrees with the staff report. So on that basis, I will move that this be approved as per the staff report, approving 1, 2, and 3 with conditions and refusing variance number 4.
Okay, just before we move for a second, I just want to just clarify for some housekeeping. The application needs to be amended. There was a recommendation for an amendment in the staff report, and I just want to make sure that the applicant is in agreement with that amendment.
I'm sorry, which memo was that?
The application needs to be amended, and that is to have a driveway located 0 meters from the side yard line rather than
yes.
point. So
Yes.
this is just a housekeeping matter. I just want to make sure that we keep everything on the same page here. So
there was one other note, if I may, and that's just a quick one. It shows it may show in the staff report or in some of the complainants that there are building permits that are outstanding. Those permits are now closed. Everything has finalized, and I'm sure you can validate that here with the city, and which was a daunting task, and we were able to get it finished. And we have had construction on the go on a regular basis. That's why some of these issues did arise, not because of these other comments. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the staff would suggest that the condition regarding the building permits stay, simply because at the time of the writing of the report, there were still some outstanding things. If that has changed, that's wonderful. It's something that staff could clear. However, I would encourage you to consider leaving that condition as
I agree. That's an easy condition to clear. So, okay. So there's a motion on the floor. Does anyone have any further questions or second?
I have some further questions or comments, I suppose.
Yep.
In respect of the conditions, it looks like there's going to be a lot of scrutiny over the use of this property going forward, so I think the conditions need to be very clear. So we have a home office business, and that is distinct from the construction business. And I just think that needs to be very clear in here, that the home office business is a separate and apart and completely different entity from the construction business. And then when I look at conditions 2, 3, and 5, it's sort of just mentioned in different ways. There's construction portion of the business, which to me suggested that the home office business and the construction portion of the business may be one and the same business, and then there's being separate parts of it. And so I just wanted to be clear that the construction business is separate. It's not a portion of the home office business. No outdoor storage associated with, I think, again, that has to be construction business, so it's consistent. And then same thing for condition 5. That's it's written as construction business. Okay? Yeah.
Yep.
And I did just have sorry. So this, I think it should be construction business.
Okay, yep.
And then it should be construction business as well.
Okay.
And that stays the same.
Great.
I think there should also be a distinction when you talk about the home office business here, that it's something separate from the construction business.
I just have a quick question with respect to construction business. Are we dealing with semantics here? When we talk about construction business, are we meaning the actual physical labor, or are we talking about drawings and applications and all of the back office work that's suggested in the advertising that goes on? Is that construction business, or for the sake of this application, is construction the guys who wheel the hammers and haul in the lumber and do the work?
I suppose one could be construed as construction management, and then the other is more of a general contractor, the contractor's business, but that's just a comment. Julianne?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's nothing to prevent someone running a business, even if it is like he's running, he's doing job searches for people or things like that are strict office uses from their home, regardless of whether he's searching for a construction person. There's nothing in the bylaw to prevent that. However, what staff is concerned with is that there's none of the other related uses, such as storage, outdoor storage, storage of vehicles, parking of vehicles, having contractors come and go from the site, and all of those things are in keeping with the regulations for a home business anyways, that you don't attract people to the site, you have limited number of employees. But uses that are strictly office, like if you work at a computer and you draw CAD drawings, that is an office use, whether the CAD drawing is for a construction site or whether it's for a site plan for a zoning application. To me, and I think it would be hard for me it would be challengeable to say that that's not, an office use. But to the committee members' comment about construction, yes, we definitely want to separate those other uses that are related to the construction/contractor business that are not desirable, especially in a residential area. And that's why staff was very clear in the report to indicating that this is not an appropriate location for a contractor's yard. This is a residential subdivision, and we recognize that. We've indicated that to the applicant. Staff has met a number of times with the applicant in order to try and address the concerns that were raised by the residents over the last few years, because this has been ongoing for some time, as evidenced by the material that Mr. and Mrs. Chechen submitted. So definitely staff are on it. It's something, as Ms. Meader mentioned, that it's being scrutinized. There are a lot of bylaw people that are aware of this site, and I'm sure the neighbors are going to continue to be vigilant.
Mr. Chair, I'm still a little confused, actually more confused now. This is just one corporation, I'm assuming. And whether, as staff has pointed out, whether or not you're doing CAD drawings for a site plan or whether you're doing CAD drawings for the Empire State Building, that's an office function, which would be done inside the building. I think the staff report is very clear that, and the conditions specified in this report, that the portion of the business that is objectionable to the neighborhood is storage of 2x4s, concrete, construction-oriented parts of building something. Most of that would be done on site if this gentleman was building a house or doing a renovation in Waterloo. Most of the construction materials would be on site and not on the office premises. I understand that very clearly. I'm not, and I echo Ms. Meter's concerns that this be clarified, that it isn't that the mailman can't come to the front door with a package, or FedEx can't come to the front door with a package. It's no construction trailers, no ladders, no cement mixers to be stored on property. And I think the staff report is fairly clear on that. So, Mr. Chair, as per your little suggestion to me, do I really need to revise my motion? Because we're not really changing the staff report.
There's a recommendation of simply changing the contractors to construction. That's the recommendation.
Okay, I understand that now. So, yes, Mr. Chair, I will consider that a friendly amendment to my motion.
And I just want to clarify my concerns. I fully agree with the other panel members here that it could be splitting hairs, but I don't want to handcuff the applicant. We have condition 2, no employees associated with the construction portion of the business. How do I know that someone who isn't working in the office also works in the construction portion of the business? And that, for example, the homeowner can't park in his own driveway. He drives a pickup truck. That is I see that as a problematic condition for that reason, because some people who are employees of the construction business are also going to be employees of the home office portion of the business. So perhaps it's just, if the intent is to prohibit outdoor storage and utility trailers and vehicles, maybe condition 2 needs to be struck, because we're getting into people zoning, I think, at that point, and I think it could lead to a lot of confusion.
If the committee has some suggested wording, then I would be, the intent is really to limit the non-desirable outdoor storage of vehicles, equipment, and having additional people coming and going to the site that would indicate that something other than an office use is occurring on the site. In other words, the scale of the use should remain subordinate and secondary to the primary use of the site as a residence. So that is the entire intent. And I welcome some suggested wording from Ms. Meter. I understand what your concern is.
Thank you, Ms. Von Westerholt. Through you, Mr. Chair, I think I'm recommending that condition 2 be completely removed, and the regulations associated with home offices will prevail if there's any issue with customers attending on site or people. You'll know if someone is associated with the construction portion of the business based on whether or not there's storing vehicles or utility trailers there, I think. Without that condition, I think the intent will still be met.
Yeah, I understand that. Do you understand what you're saying, Ben?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thanks very much for clarifying that. So I'll let my motion stand as amended with Ms. Meter's comment of, I guess, removing condition number 2.
Okay.
And also I guess there's something else, changing construction to contractor.
Yeah, so contractor to construction.
Yeah, I had that backwards. So I will consider that a friendly amendment.
Okay. Any other comments or second? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next application is B 2019-25.
Good morning. My name is Larry Richardson.
Good morning, Mr. Richardson. How are you?
Great.
Good. Straightforward application. Does anyone have any questions or comments? No? Motion? You have a motion? Bob?
Mr. Chair, this is very straightforward. We've dealt with these kind of things, and we'll be dealing with another one. So I move that this be approved with no conditions.
Second? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next application is Mr. Richardson again, is B 2019-26. Once again, it's a straightforward application.
Can I say ditto to the first one?
Sure. Second? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move that this be approved as per the staff report.
Second. Mike, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application is B 2019-27. It's 1340 Fisher Holman Road. Support or opposition, come forward, please.
Good morning, Chair, committee members. Jeff Marshall, the applicant, in support of the application.
Okay, it's straightforward application. Actually, anyone have any questions or comments? Motion?
Mr. Chair, through you, this is very straightforward, a stormwater easement. I have no concerns, so I would move that this be approved with the 4 conditions in the recommendation and staff report.
Second. Mike, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application is B 2019-28. It's 37 Hyman Street. Support or opposition? Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Just note that there was a regional comment and a condition for the fee. It was just a condition for the fee, and otherwise it was just a comment for water services, which you're probably aware of. Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Chair, we already addressed this application previously, but I do have a question. Does this mean the region gets another $350?
I think it's attached to the same application.
Well, I would think that a second fee would not be appropriate, but it's not my money. So I would move that this be approved with the same 11 conditions that were in the previous application.
Second. Mike, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next application is B 2019-29 and 2019-63. Support or opposition, come forward, please. No, this is different. This is commercial. Yeah. Let's make a just before we proceed forward, there was a regional conditions that need to be inserted. Okay, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Brandon Flewelling from GSP Group. We're just here in support of the application. We have no concerns. The staff report is written.
Okay, great. Have any questions or comments? Bob?
Yes, Mr. Chair. A hypothetical question to staff. If the retained and severed portions were reversed, would this property be subject to parkland dedication? The retained lot is already, the retained lot is the developed lot. Now, let me look at it again. Because I'm not sure I agree with Operations' comment that parkland was dedication back in 2008, but that was for one lot. And I do believe the Planning Act does permit parkland dedications for redevelopment. But this is a new development. It's severing a property for new development.
It's not increasing the usability of the site. And I think basically on the ground, nothing is changing, except where the lot lines are.
Usually parkland for commercial is taken at a percentage of the site, 2%. And so it would have been taken for the whole site at an assumed density. So it would have been accounting for the development of the entirety of the property.
in short, we can't double dip, is what I'm, like, that's...
Okay, I'll accept that explanation. And just to echo the chair's comments that there's a region fee and they're asking for a noise study.
All right. The recommendation's been amended. Is there a motion?
I move that the application be, the recommendation be approved with the additional condition.
From the region, all right, second. Bob, all in favor? Carried, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Next application is 452 Prospect Ave, 456 Prospect Ave. Anyone in support or opposition, come forward, please.
I'm Jeremy Craigsman, in support.
Good morning. Have you had an opportunity to review staff report?
Yes.
They're recommending approval with conditions. Do you have any questions, comments?
We do have a question. Just a few comments, which Megan will start.
Hi, good morning. I am a resident and owner of 452 and of 456 Prospect. This is my friend Jeremy Craigsman. My husband, William, who is at work right now, we are looking to sever that lot. He has been a transit driver for GRT for many years. 452 Prospect has been in Will's family for 2 generations, has lived there his entire life. When the house next to ours, which is the corner lot of 456 Prospect, went on the market, my husband and I decided to purchase it. Through this severance, we hope to have the unique opportunity to build our dream home on the land that Will's family has owned, and we hope to continue to enjoy the people and relationships that we have there. This venture is not to largely profit from. It is a large expense for our working family and a complicated personal journey. With that, we'd like to raise a concern with one of the conditions.
So the concern is with the 3 words in one of the conditions, condition 6, with regards to a tree preservation plan. So we noted that in most similar conditions recently, those 3 words, which are building elevation drawings, are not in the condition. We feel that building elevation drawings aren't really an appropriate location in a tree preservation plan for a number of reasons. First reason is the city's tree management policy requires the tree preservation plan to be submitted before the building permit stage when the property is registered. So no detailed design for the building will be completed at that stage. The second reason is the city's tree management policy has no provision for the requiring of building elevation drawings in a tree preservation plan. And the third reason is a review of the recent tree preservation plan conditions shows they do not seem to contain this requirement. So we feel maybe it might be added an error or something.
I believe the applicant is just seeking the removal of the words referring to building elevation drawings. Is that correct,
yeah.
Mr. Craigsman? Staff has spoken with the applicants, and staff would have no objection to the removal of those 3 drawings, simply because the majority of the trees that were on the site have already been removed. There is one more canopy and root system of a tree that's kind of straddling the proposed boundaries that we'd like to make sure are still looked at during the construction. And we don't need an elevation drawing to determine that. We need a site plan, which is also referenced here. So if the committee chooses to make that recommendation, staff would have no objection to the removal of building elevation drawings from that condition, condition 6A.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, we do have further comments. So we noted that the tree preservation plan is only required for the severed lands, which we feel makes sense as no development is happening on the retained parcel of 456. we found it a little bit unusual or odd that the tree preservation plan for the severed parcel would be registered on title for the retained parcel. Just a question about that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it should be just for the severed parcel. Yeah.
No, I'm going to push my luck here, but sorry? Okay. Our third question is that because the severed parcel has no trees, we feel the condition requiring the tree preservation plan is actually onerous and unnecessary for a number of reasons. The property does not meet the city's tree management policy definition of a treed lot or a lot containing trees. Under the policy, these are the conditions where a tree preservation plan can be required. So a tree lot is defined in the dictionary as a lot planted or grown with trees, and containing is defined in the dictionary as to hold or include within its volume or area. So, for example, this glass contains water. So as mentioned in the planning report, there is a hedge within the severed parcel and perhaps a couple branches of adjacent juniper bushes, but no trees are contained within or planted on the severed parcel. And we feel with all the expenses involved, it's a little bit onerous to require the Wirtz family to hire and pay a professional arborist to produce a complicated plan for a property that does not contain any trees.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I disagree with that last comment. It is not onerous to require the preservation of even a single tree. This committee has seen this on a number of occasions where we have trees that straddle two properties and that we've required similar conditions. I don't believe that the resulting arborist report will likely be very onerous at all. In fact, it'll likely just have recommendations with respect to preserving the tree canopy and or the root base and ensuring that during construction that is protected. I would encourage you to consider keeping that condition. It is in keeping with it, and our environmental staff have asked for that condition, so they obviously had a reason for that. There is a tree that is straddling. I can show you a diagram here, if you so desire, that straddles the proposed property line, and that is the reason for that.
As much as anything, it's preservation of a root base is generally what we've seen in the past. I guess that's where you hit the wall, Jeremy. Sorry. Anything else?
That's all.
That's it? Okay. Any questions, comments, recommendation?
I think this is a good application. Promotes intensification, looking at the lot fabric surrounding it. It's compatible with the surrounding, particularly across Broadview Avenue. And I think it's been thoughtfully addressed by both staff and the applicant, and I move that it be approved subject to the 2 revisions to the conditions, but with a tree management plan.
Thank you.
Second? Mike, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next application is 122 Monarch Woods Drive. How's that? Yeah.
You could list them all.
Hi, Pierre.
It's a very similar application to what we had approved probably 3-4 months ago in other parts of the subdivision. With the exception of the easements that we're creating, we were done through part law control. This time we're going through consent.
Okay, there's regional condition. The region's asking for regional condition, otherwise it is a straightforward application. Anyone, questions, comments, motion? And a motion?
Motion, I move to approve all of these applications, A66 to 81 and B 32 to 50, subject to the regional conditions and the conditions set in the staff report.
All right. Second? Mike, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next application is 83 Elmsdale Drive. Supporter opposition, come forward. No? All this, okay. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to change, let's just revise the recommendation. It's right after the number, put be deferred for a period of up to 3 months. It's just missing 2 words. Motion, Bob, second, Jennifer, all in favor, carried.
Could I just have a clarification that should the applications or the applicant be ready prior to 3 months that they can come through?
Yep, that says that in the recommendation. All right, application is 25 and 31 4th Ave. Support opposition.
4th Ave.
Hello.
Brandon, GSP, here in support of the change of conditions. It was just to
changing conditions.
Simplify the future transactions.
Okay. Seems confusing, but it's actually straightforward.
We had a lot of help from Ms. Anderson to sort it out and to get to this point today, so we're quite happy with the proposed change conditions.
Okay, good. Motion, Bob, second. Mike, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn. Jennifer, second. Bob, all in favor? Carried. Done.